Okay, here we are again.
Hello.
Hello. So last time we talked about your grandparents and your siblings.
Right.
Talked about each one of your siblings and what you remember about your grandparents. Is there anything like that you remember or
No, I
felt like we didn't talk about, or?
No, I feel like
Okay.
I can remember.
Okay. And then before that, we talked about like your being a child and school, and
Oh, right.
we hit all those as well. So today I thought we could talk about Dad,
Okay.
because he's in the other room and he can't hear us, right?
Not really.
Okay, so why don't you tell me about how you guys first met?
Okay. It's funny because Dad and I just talked about all this
Really?
stuff. Yeah, a little bit ago. Not today, but we met. My best friend at the time when I was a freshman.
Who was that? Yeah, you're fine.
Kathy Wilson, and her brother Brad was Dad's best friend.
Yeah.
And so he lived just down the street from Dad. And Dad lived in the houses that Grandpa designed. They're really nice.
This in
Yeah.
Sunny Hills, or?
Sunny Hills, yeah, they're up on past Gilbert. And you should have him take you there sometime. Anyway, so one night, I think we met a night that Kathy and I were sitting in the back seat and Brad was driving. And I remember he drove up to Dad's house. And Dad came out barefoot and he was putting his shoes and socks on. He had just come from wrestling, I think. And so we were going to go to it was called a Coyote Dance.
Mm-hmm.
It was maybe it was a YMCA dance where you, and he said hi and we said hi, but that was it. But that was the first time I ever met him.
How old were you? Like, what grade were you in?
I was a freshman.
How old was Dad?
He was a sophomore.
Sophomore? So he's a grade older than you?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I was a sophomore. No, because
So Kathy was friends with Brad's sister?
Kathy was Brad. No. Kathy Wilson was Brad's sister. She was my best friend.
Kathy was. Oh, I thought you were talking about your sister.
No.
Kathy. Okay, sorry.
And we were best friends for about a year, and
Okay.
then Debbie moved in across the street. And we were still friends, but not like before.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was, I didn't even see him after that for a long time, and then we started.
But you went to the same school, right?
Yeah, then we started, I would talk to him at school, and he would talk to me, and I always borrowed money from him.
You did?
Yeah,
to get
like
what?
hamburgers.
Really?
They had these machines that had these really good hamburgers in them, and
So you're like, hey, can I borrow a quarter?
yeah, I did. That was ridiculous. I said it didn't change, right?
Yeah.
So then we just got to know each other better, and it took a while. And then let's see, is that as much as you want to know right now?
So like, what was your first impression of him?
Oh, I thought he was cute, and he was quiet. The first time I met him, he didn't talk much, and he was probably tired, but he was funny. I always thought he had a funny sense of humor and kind of a dry humor, and Brad was hysterical. So together, the two of them, they were really fun. We used to laugh a lot, I remember. And then my friend Debbie was Chris Bardot's girlfriend, and he was also one of Dad's best friends. And so we would go double dating and stuff. So that was kind of fun.
Do you remember your first date?
I think he took me to see Camelot. I think that was one of our first dates. We went into LA and we dressed up, and the movie Camelot was playing, and the theater was all decked out like Camelot.
That's cool.
It was neat.
What
But
did you dress up as, like?
No, I just came. I
Oh.
wore a dress, a skirt, and I dressed nice as far as not just going to
Yeah.
the. And I cried all the way home because it was so sad.
Was it? They
Yeah,
all die in the end?
it's terrible, huh?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen it?
I don't think so.
It's worth seeing. It's amazing, but it was sad.
Huh.
A lot of pretty songs in it.
So that was your first
I
date?
think so. Can't, unless it was to go to one of the dances, and we did that a couple of times, and then he took me to prom later on, and that was fun. My mom made the dress, and we went with Chris and Debbie, and so that was fun.
So what grade were you when you went on your first date? Were you still a freshman or was this later?
I think I was a sophomore. Because I was 16.
16.
Yeah. So I must have been when I met.
Were your parents pretty strict about dating? Like there was no way you were gonna date until you were 16?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even bother
It wasn't even
asking. It wasn't even a,
It wasn't a question, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
What happened the first time you met Dad's parents and family?
I liked them. They were fun. Grandpa was barbecuing steaks. I think I went over for a barbecue the first time I met him, and their house. I don't know if you. I guess you've never been there, but the whole back part of the house was glass, a big, huge glass, and they looked out over Fullerton. They're up on a hill.
I don't think I've ever seen that house.
It's so beautiful. You ought to have Dad give you the directions and drive up there sometime. It's not far from Grandma Wilcox's. It's just up the hill.
Yeah.
And but you could, when at night the lights of Fullerton were all on, and you could see Disneyland, and it was pretty cool. But we barbecued steaks, and which was a big deal for me. We never had steaks at our house, couldn't afford them. But and they were fun. Grandpa was, him and Mary Jo were going to Acapulco or something. So he was telling her all about it. She was afraid of flying, and they were talking about that a lot, but it was nice.
So they were already going to Mexico by then, or this was like one of their first times going down there? I always remember that about them. They always were in Mexico.
Yeah. No, they started back then. Because that was the first trip Mary Jo had ever taken. I think they were going to what's the other place? Not Puerto Vallarta. No, the other one.
Cabo, San Lucas?
Yeah. Might have been that one. But they were getting ready to go, and it was going to be, either that or they were going to go to Mardi Gras. I can't remember. And she was afraid of flying, and Grandpa was showing her all the airplanes that were flying.
Was like Gary and Alan, did you meet or did you already know them?
I knew Gary from school, and I think I met Alan that night. He was there.
He was younger.
Yeah, a lot younger. Because I think he was 5 years younger than Gary, and Gary was only a year younger than Dad.
So you and Gary were in the same grade?
No, Gary was a year younger than me.
Oh, okay.
So, I think even in school he was. So I just, he was like the younger brother. I don't know if he was there the first night. I can't remember. He was probably out and about. He never stayed home. He was always busy.
Yeah. So at what point did you go over there? Was that like after a couple dates, or when did you finally meet his parents?
Oh, probably, I think it was right away. I don't think we waited too long that I went up there. I loved their house. It was so neat. Oh, and then I started cleaning for Grandma. Me and Debbie cleaned her house.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started doing that. But that might have been maybe 6 months we'd been going. And I told her we cleaned houses, and she was excited.
Do you remember how much you made?
I made $15.
$15 every time you did it?
Yeah, and it was a big
Pretty
house.
Good.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
Because it probably took you a couple hours, right?
Yeah, and Debbie, she cleaned the kitchen. I cleaned all the bathrooms, and I think I cleaned the bedrooms, and she did the front part of the house. And yeah, and then we would always go to McDonald's and spend our money on hamburgers.
Hamburgers.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
funny. That was your jam, hamburgers.
It was, and French fries.
They are good.
Yeah.
What about like when you first introduced Dad to your family?
That was kind of, well, I know, let's see. When, you know what, he just came over, he came over one night. But my mom and dad had already met him, but he came over one night by my mom and dad. I was babysitting, and mom and dad had gone somewhere, and Margene had gone, and they said, no matter what, we don't want Bill here while we're gone.
That's what your parents said?
Yeah, and I said, okay. So the minute they left, naturally, I called him and said, they're gone, come on over. So he stayed and played with it. The kids thought he was funny, and Janet and Ronnie. And my mom and dad came home early, and we were freaking out. So we grabbed Bill, and we pushed him down the hall. He didn't know what was going on, so we pushed him down that hall.
Yeah.
And my mom used to laugh about that. She said they went through that door and looked down the hall, and there was Bill.
So they found him?
Yeah, hiding down that hall. He didn't know what was going on. He just knew he had to hide.
That's funny.
He didn't even know to go out the back door. He was standing there. Anyway, I got in trouble for not minding, but not a big deal. But yeah, they met Bill pretty close because he brought me home from school a lot. He had a car.
What kind of car did he have?
A Comet. It was Nana's.
That was the Vomit?
Yeah, and it was turquoise. It was awesome. That was our first car we had. But that's the car he drove. And so he would bring me home, and my mom, she knew him, met him more probably than Dad. But
that's funny. So tell me, do you remember like any other memorable dates that you guys went on or things that you guys did when you were dating?
Yeah, I was trying to remember. I think once we went with Deb and, let's see, we did another movie, like a real popular one, or I think, but I can't remember what it is. If I do, I'll put it on my thing, but we did go, we went to some concerts, which was fun. We went to like the Donovan concert at the...
I remember you telling me about that once.
Yeah, at the Hollywood
you saw
Bowl.
Donovan?
Yeah.
And you had a crush on him, right?
Yeah.
I remember you told me that once.
Yeah. And then we saw... I feel like we saw the... something airplane. Now I can't remember what it's called.
Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah. And we saw... the guys that sing in the Gada Divina. Can't think of their name either all of a sudden.
That's not Black Sabbath, is it? No, I can't remember.
We saw lots of concerts. Dad liked music, and so did I.
Iron Butterfly.
Iron Butterfly. Yeah, that was at the, what did I say?
Hollywood.
Yeah, and they had, such a neat light show, and Dad had gotten box row seats, so it was kind of cool. That was fun. And I think we saw a lot of people, a lot of concerts. And then we went to a Battle of the Bands at Anaheim Convention Center. And I know also Grandpa had a boat, Grandpa Albert did.
Yeah.
And we used to go with Debbie and Chris and hang out on the boat. It was so cool, especially at night. It was fun.
Where did they keep it?
Newport Harbor.
Newport Harbor.
The one right by, well, see, whatchamacallit, that restaurant's not there anymore, Reuben's. There used to be a really fancy restaurant, and it's right off the big main road. It was right there. Dad will have to tell you. Can't remember.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was neat. I never went on it, but because I mean, as far as I never went with him anywhere. I always got seasick.
Yeah. So how long did you guys date?
A year and a half.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. And then we, trying to get married. Doing our best.
So are you okay talking about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me when you first found out, or when you found out you were pregnant with Christy.
Oh man. That was crazy. Well, I just knew I was. I felt different. I was getting sick every morning.
Mm-hmm.
My mom thought maybe I had the Hong Kong flu because that was going
really?
on then.
That was going on?
Yeah. But no. So she took me to her doctor, and Dr. Smith, and he said, yeah, that I was pregnant. I was already probably 3 months. And
had you told anybody at this point?
I think just Debbie and Bill, obviously. But
did you tell your mom before you went to the doctor?
Oh yeah, I told my dad. Poor dad, he came out of the shower one morning, and I was standing there because Bill's mom and dad knew, and they said, you've got to tell your dad or we will. And I thought, oh brother.
Wow.
So I told him that morning, and then he talked to my mom before I went to school, and she talked to me. I didn't go to school that day. I kept throwing up at school all the time. So, yeah. So then,
how did they, were you surprised how they reacted, or how did they react?
No, it was horrible.
Was it horrible?
See?
It's okay.
I dreaded telling them.
I'm sure.
Anyway, so I stayed home, and we went to the doctor. So then the doctor was so mean to me.
Really?
Well, he was my mom's doctor, so he was, mad at me for doing that, hurting her. So then we just tried to make a plan of what we were going to do. And my mom and dad had some friends that lived in Sacramento. They knew them in Utah. And so they called them, and they said that I could come and stay with them. And that... Here comes Dad.
Are you making Mom cry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you saying? What are you talking
Huh?
about?
Just talking about us. I mean, family already knows anyway, so. So, I think that. When did I go to Sacramento? Was that a Valentine's Day weekend? I know it was a weekend because my dad took time off work.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and then...
Did you guys, did they allow you guys to talk, and did they
No, we
talk
weren't supposed to see each other.
Okay.
After that was it.
And did Grandma and Grandpa, did they talk to each other and come up with a plan together, or was it...
Grandma and Grandpa?
Yeah.
His mom and dad.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, it wasn't very fun. No, we just decided that that I would go to Sacramento and adopt Christy out.
Well, we wanted to get married.
Huh?
That was your guys' plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back then you had to get, if you were not 18 years old, you had to get permission from your parents.
Yeah.
And so my dad said my parents were against us getting married.
Mm.
They wanted mom to get an abortion, which obviously that was not going to work for her and her family. It didn't
Yeah.
work for me either. So, in fact, my dad wanted to fight me.
About it, wow.
I told him
Like
that would be a
physically.
big mistake. Yeah, he had this notion, and he came up on the mean streets in L.A. and
Yeah.
he had a father that abused his mom and abused him. Until my uncle got old enough and big enough to put a stop to.
Mm-hmm.
So he had this notion that a father and son
Yeah.
ought to get into a physical fight. At least that's what he told me.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of arguments about whether or not Mom and I were going to get married, because he had these dreams about me becoming a litigator, and
Right.
I had all this, academic stuff going on, and he didn't. They figured the odds were like zero that the marriage could succeed. So that was the big push from that side.
Mm-hmm.
I remember vividly my dad choosing me off to a fight
Hmm.
one evening, one night, when he had his beer muscles up. And I told him that would be a big mistake.
So like you got like nose to nose with him, like you.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I said that would be a big mistake. You don't do that.
Wow.
Neither do I. And but anyway, we finally, in a cooler moment, he agreed finally, because I wasn't going to give in.
Mm-hmm.
We had to wait till after you graduated from high school.
That's what he agreed to.
That was
He
the
said
stipulation.
that he
Yeah,
would
they wanted Dad to make.
sign the papers. In fact, I think it was 21, was because I was 18.
I was gonna say you would have
Yeah,
been.
we were 18. I think it was 21.
That was what the loss. Okay.
Yeah.
But I was 17.
Yeah, so back then it was 21, and he said, if I graduated from high school, that he would sign the papers.
Yeah.
So that's what we agreed to, and so I graduated from high school with high honors, and that was on a Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday morning we got married. She
Wow.
got to
Next
come
day.
back from Sacramento.
So in between that time, you guys had been like they wouldn't let you see. You were in Sacramento.
But I came home in spring break, I think. I was there from February to the spring break, and it wasn't working out at that house.
Yeah.
They were.
The
I,
guy that
I didn't
was
like
kind of
them. So
abusive to her, that
Dad
she was
came up
upset
and got me.
Oh yeah.
Well, his mom and dad came up too, but that was the other thing. This is kind of an important thing. When my mom and dad came up in April, they went with me to the doctor. Sorry.
It's okay.
And the doctor was state president. And my mom and dad were, well, my mom especially, she was raised in where looks are everything, and you've gotta, So she wanted to hide the fact that I'd had a baby, which is fine, and so they were determined that I was gonna put the baby up for adoption. But when my dad met the my doctor, he was an older man, real. And he told my mom and dad that no matter what happened, even if Bill and I never got married, that we were supposed to keep the baby, that she was ours. So my mom and dad, they trusted him, and we left the doctor's office, and I felt so much better. I didn't want to give up. Guess it's good to get all this emotion out. Anyway, so we stayed at Arlen Evans for a little while, and then Dad took me home, and I got to stay home. And we decided that no matter what, we would, be able to keep Christy. And then, we just worked it out that we would get married the day after.
Dad graduated.
Yeah.
Think how wise that state president was.
Yeah.
I know.
That's unbelievable.
Because either way, this family wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
No.
Had her parents got her way or my parents got their way, this family wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have never, so many people told me
That's divine
to get an
intervention.
abortion. I would have never done that. It's just never.
That's called providence.
Yeah. So that worked out. And
So did you guys did you write letters while you were in Sacramento?
Oh, yeah,
Did
and I
you talk
called
on
him.
the phone? Yeah.
Yeah. And then I found out Arla was reading our letters, and because one day, Bill was going to sneak up because we weren't supposed to see each other. And she said, I kind of get a feeling that your boyfriend's going to come up here, and he really shouldn't. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I called him and told Bill, don't come up, something's going on. I thought she, had all these special gifts. She was just reading my mail.
Yeah, she did. It was yeah.
Yeah.
So they were pretty sneaky.
They were crazy.
I don't think they were the kind of people that Grandma and Grandpa Wilcox thought they were. They were sort of
Yeah, they were nutty.
a weird streak. So that wasn't a good situation. So we had a fight.
That sounds like it.
Yep. We did.
You had, your parents were sort of in opposition about what they wanted to do.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
You guys wanted to do what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, and then, we had several problems because, the day before we were supposed to get married, we found out that something didn't get signed. So me and Bill and Grandma Wilcox had to go down to Santa Ana and have her sign these papers. And that was a big mess. And Bill's mom and dad called upset. And anyway, it was a mess. But the next day we got married and at 11 o'clock. And I felt like my world was just, wow. It was amazing.
Yeah, the parents were all fine. But,
Yeah.
Her parents supported it no matter what.
Yeah.
They wanted it, yeah.
And, my parents came on board once they knew that I wasn't going to give in.
Yeah.
That,
Well, and it probably also helped that you kept to your part of the deal and graduating and finishing all that.
Well, he had been accepted at UCI to be a lawyer, I think, and to go to law school or just anyway. So he had to cancel that. So
I canceled that and went out, and when I found out she was pregnant, I'll never forget this conversation, I decided to cut my class schedule down and get a job at Pizza Man, delivering pizza.
Yeah.
And just to save some money, you know, and because you know, I had to pay for a baby and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I, you know, I quit wrestling, which was a big blow to the wrestling team, and I cut my class schedule down and wanted to be in fact, you know, I told my teacher that, you know, I was completing trigonometry, and I said, I'm not going to go on to calculus. We got all these problems, emotional stuff going on, you know, and I remember that math teacher telling me, you know, you've got a lot of promise. That's probably the biggest mistake you're going to ever make in your life. And I remember thinking,
If you
must
only
have
knew.
a sheltered life, because I've already
Yeah.
made whoppers bigger than not taking calculus, you know.
Yeah.
And but I'll never forget that. It was just so ironic for him to say something like that. Here I'm thinking about, all I can think about is getting a job so I can, you know, and I had saved money anyway, but I got a job so I could save up money to start a family. And, so that's what I did. I cut my school schedule down to the bare minimum and went to work. And worked.
Well, you know, I was
You've worked
thinking.
ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking too, you know, there was such stress before we got married, but Christy was born about a month and a half after we were married, right?
6
So,
weeks.
we stayed at my mom and dad's for about a month, and you know, every morning we got this little cradle for Chris that rocked, and my mom and Margene were always in there before I could even wake up, and they would
Really?
take her, oh yeah, and put her in the kitchen and give her a bath, and you know,
You were in heaven.
they loved her.
Yeah.
It was,
Oh, yeah.
she was instantly.
She had a maid, you know, we lived there for what, 3 months during the summer? You know, it's kind of interesting that there, you know, that all the positive things, you know, the opposition, when you think about it, it's just amazing. You know, not only were the odds against something like that, my dad was probably right, 100 to 1, you know, but what we went through was, you know, my cousin Richard, who was the best man at our wedding, took a drug overdose about a month after we were married.
After?
Yeah, and this was in the summer before we were married, and he took a drug overdose. He had a drug problem, and so his dad made him join the service, thinking that would get him straight. Well, it didn't. That was the place to get worse back in those days.
Yeah.
And so one night, he and his buddies decided that they would sniff cleaning fluid. And he started having difficulty breathing. And they panicked. His buddies panicked and left him to die, and he did. And I was totally just devastated by that.
You guys were close.
Yeah, we were real close.
I think that was like a week before Chris was born.
Yeah, it was a week. Yeah, it was 4 or 5 weeks after we were married. A week before Christy was born. And, you know, I'm trying to get ready to support the family, and my cousin and best friend, you know, basically, you know, died. He died with a drug overdose, and it just really clobbered me. And so, you know, that was something I had to work through and just keep pressing forward and stuff like that. There was a whole lot of opposition in a lot of different ways to us never having, you know, a chance.
Yeah, well, and like you were saying too, to think that to face all that opposition as teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you were 17, you were 18, right?
I was 16 and then 17.
Yeah. Oof.
And I was gone away for a few months, and so Bill was dealing with it all on his own, and
Well,
but
you
it
weren't
felt,
gone away. I mean, when Richard died, we were married, and
yeah,
so that was
bad.
yeah, it was horrible. And but the next week we had Christy came
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So we literally we had to. This is getting ahead of your narrative, but we had to overcome opposition and obstacles that a lot of people would think are insurmountable
Yeah.
to bring every kid into the world. She was supposed to die. She was not. Her doctors told her kids would kill her. She after you were born.
Yeah.
Her doctor said no more. You can't physically survive it. And so Christy was a miracle. Just that we had her and she kept her, and it started a family. You had problems because they were, she was exposed to, your blood types are different, and mom was exposed to RH.
Negative.
You're RH negative, right? You were exposed to RH positive blood. Your blood mixed with hers, while she was pregnant, which can cause damage. She forms antibodies and causes damage to you, to the baby. So you had issues from that, and potential big issues, but they didn't turn out to be that big. And then her doctors basically forbade her to have babies after that because of rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
So every
That was a joy. Oh boy.
yeah.
But I remember,
But every child who run into the world
Yeah.
is a miracle.
Yeah.
and this was before Dad joined the church, but I would have my dad to come over and with each of the kids, give me a blessing. And he always blessed me that the kids would be healthy and strong and safe, and that always made me feel so much better because I was worried about it. My doctors were horrible. One doctor brought me into his office and sat me behind this big desk and pulled out this huge book about why not to have a baby if you have arthritis. I mean, just stuff like that.
Wow.
But anyway, I felt my priesthood blessings really sustained me.
It sounds like it. All right, let's rewind a little bit and let's lighten it up. Tell me about your wedding day. No, I know, but
What?
I'll give you a break for a minute.
Okay.
Tell me, because we kind of passed over your wedding day, but tell me about your wedding. Like, what did you wear? What was it? What was it like?
We have a picture of us sitting in the back of his mom and dad's Cadillac, and we were going up to the Alberts' house. My mom and dad were going on vacation. Probably couldn't get out of there fast enough. And so Dad and I and Margene were going to be at the house while my mom and dad were gone. And is that right?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
a lot
Christy
of fun
wasn't
too.
born
I
yet.
gave Margene spelling lessons every
Yeah.
morning.
It
She
was so
couldn't
nice.
spell anything.
Really?
Yeah. And So yeah, we went up to Bill's mom and dad's house, and then Grandpa got us a night at the Surf and Sand Hotel in Laguna, and
Beach.
yeah, it was so nice. We were like on the 5th floor overlooking the ocean, and geez, after what we'd been through, I felt like we were just in La La Land.
Yeah. Where did you get married? Where was it?
Huh?
Where did you get married? Was
Oh.
it just like?
It was a place in Anaheim. Bill was going to see a psychologist, Dr. Saul.
Dr. Millard Saul was.
Yeah,
he was counseling me, and he was really counseling both of us. But I was the only one that really needed counseling.
He wanted
was
him to
also
marry
an
us.
Minister.
Oh, really?
And her, of course, Grandma and Grandpa. That was another. That
Yeah.
wasn't really a conflict, but I'm sure
They wanted
hurt their
Bishop.
feelings.
Yeah.
They wanted the bishop to marry us, and I wasn't into that at all. I said no, and
I just
you
said,
know what? I don't regret that. But
Huh?
I, you know, when I looking back on it, it was, I think I didn't know the bishop. I never
Yeah,
been to
but
the
you knew this
church.
guy. I mean,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
I had a lot of respect for him. He was an ordained minister. And
how did that get set up? Was that something like that your parents pushed to see a counselor like that, or was that?
yeah, my dad.
That was a
demanded
step
it.
another.
And, Brad Wilson's dad is the one that recommended Dr. Saul, and he really was great. I mean, I'll never forget, I had my big ego, I figured I could do anything, and it was so funny. He did this battery of personality testing
Yeah.
on me, including the Minnesota test and some others, but he did testing on both of us, because one of the things I think my dad was hoping he would talk us out of getting married.
It would prove that you weren't compatible,
Right.
and that you shouldn't. Yeah.
Or, and so I'll never forget, he said, well, we got the test results back, and he says, Annette's personality is rock solid.
he said what?
Angelic.
She is a rock.
Yeah.
He said, if there's going to be any issues with the marriage, it's going to come from you. I'll never forget that.
Wow.
And he goes, here's you got these issues here. He's going through all my, the places where, I'm off the scale on this aggression and this and that,
Yeah.
This is going to be a problem in your marriage. And if your marriage has a chance, it's because she's so stable.
He really was wise.
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't know that I've ever heard that part of the story. So
Yeah.
It was so. I mean, it really impacted me because I thought, if there's going to be a problem, it's not going to be me.
Yeah. And then so he ended up marrying you guys.
Yeah. In his office.
Yeah, but, he warned
Well, that
me. He
makes
says,
sense.
you got issues you got to work on, buddy.
Yeah, so we got married in his office when Jean was my witness and Bill's, oh no, your cousin
Richard.
was
Yeah.
still alive.
Yeah.
Oh.
He died. He
After.
died a month later.
So it was a small affair. It wasn't.
Oh yeah,
It was
my mom and
just-
dad
yeah.
were there and Bill's mom and dad.
That was it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that we were in his
So
office.
the picture that
Were Debbie
I've
and,
seen that
Chris
picture.
there
Oh
and Brad, I can't remember.
no, they came up to the house.
Yeah, so we just had just Richard.
Actually, I
and
think
Margie.
Debbie was there.
Yeah.
I don't know about your friends.
Yeah. So the picture that I always envision as your wedding picture isn't your wedding picture.
No,
That's
we
like
got
your
married
prom
in a shrink's
picture.
office.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally in a shrink's office.
Huh.
And I had on a blue dress and
Yeah.
and then up at the Alberts, we were having a little, after
Yeah.
a little reception. Just my mom and dad didn't even go; they were packing at leave, and Debbie and I switched dresses because mine was hot, but the style then was kind of big,
Yeah.
so I could wear her dress.
Yeah.
And
Huh.
but we left and
And so then you went. Your honeymoon was the Laguna Beach, the night in the Laguna
Circumstance.
Beach thing. That was
Yeah,
it.
it was just basically that was it because I went to work
And
that
then
Monday.
Monday it was like
I'm
back
we
to
went to
reality.
work. And I
Where
went
were
home.
you working then? Were you still doing the pizza thing, or this was?
No,
This would have been
I
after
don't think
school.
I did I quit the pizza thing, but I went to work for my dad's partner, Stan Reed. You know, as a
construction.
you know, I hadn't worked for Stan. Well, I worked on construction, you know, every summer from the time I was basically in the 4th grade, I think, doing things for my dad and for Stan and stuff like that. I went to work. Stan was a framing contractor. I went to work for him and went to work on a custom house he was building up in Orange Heights, you know, and above Tustin for a plumber. And I went to work that Monday. You know, and the first thing I think I did is nail down plywood subfloor, and my hands were bleeding, you know, and I beat myself up, and I became an apprentice carpenter. Right away, I joined the union and went through the apprentice carpenter program, went through actually 4.5 years of that, and became a journeyman carpenter. And so I was going to night. I still thought I was going to go to college,
Yeah.
complete college. So I was going to school 4 nights a week, and 2 nights to college, and then 2 nights to carpenter school, and working during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty soon I got tired of that, and I started making a lot of money as a carpenter and a foreman and superintendent and all that.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, I could make more money.
Mm-hmm.
I watched what college graduates made and stuff like that. I thought I could have a construction career and make more money than I'll ever make
Yeah.
in college. That was prophetic too. And so I just dropped the college and focused on that career. But I literally though, you know, most of the time in the early years, you know, after I quit school, I was working 7 days a week and nights a lot of times.
Yeah.
To you know, pay the bills and support the family and stuff like that, and buy a house, all of that. And so
Yeah, he did good.
yeah, so you know, that's the other thing they told me, I couldn't support a family, and I wasn't
Yeah.
gonna hear that either.
Well, and once my mom and dad and everybody came back from their vacation, summer vacation, and school started, we stayed a month at the house, and then I don't think Bill could handle all the chaos. So then we
after you're
moved around
married,
the corner.
You stayed at Grandma and Grandpa's house. Did you say like a month you lived there? Or
Yeah,
a couple
when
months?
they were all home. But yeah,
They
we
came back from their vacation, and that was probably another motivator for me because it was chaos. And,
Yeah.
I decided, you know, that we're going to get an apartment.
So tell
Well,
me
we had
about
such
that.
a- huh?
That was in Anaheim, or was that in Fullerton?
Fullerton,
So it was around the corner.
yeah.
I remember you took me
15,
by that
18.
one.
1318 West Valencia.
West Valencia,
Valencia, okay.
and we stayed
So
there.
one bedroom apartment.
Two
or
bedroom.
Two bedroom apartment.
No, it was 1 bedroom. The first one was 1
No.
bedroom.
Christy had her own little room.
Oh, did she?
Yeah,
Okay. I was amazing I could afford that.
yeah, and gosh, it was like $105 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she reduced it because I helped manage some of the apartments. But we stayed there at least a year until Christy was starting to, well, she was walking. And the street was really busy, so, but my friend lived in Anaheim in a really cute apartment complex. And so we moved into there. I liked it, but anyway.
That was 201 North Dale.
One thing I was going to say, though, we really enjoyed Margene in the mornings. She was so cute. She, her and Dad well, she would write something on the chalkboard. Was it the chalkboard?
Yeah.
Or something? And she always misspelled things. So Dad always gave her a spelling lesson. And it got to be quite a funny little thing. But anyway, that was fun. Before she went off to BYU.
Yeah.
So. Anyway.
Okay.
She was really good to us, though.
Yeah, she was. What do you see?
Oh, Sarah's calling.
Oh, I'll call her later.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna make you cry again.
Okay.
Okay, so this section is about Dad, you and Dad.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward a little bit. Tell me what it was like when, for you to watch Dad when he got converted. When he was converted?
Yeah. Wow.
Ongoing, but at his conversion, like what that was like for you.
Well, it was amazing, but it had been 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, and things were not going very good, but because he was having trouble with some of his addictions, and it was getting worse. And I remember one night, he was gone playing cards. And it was like I couldn't take it anymore. AJ was probably 2 or 3. And so I remembered I just prayed all night long. Just, what was I going to do? I felt like I was on fire all night. But in the morning, I just knew exactly what I was going to do. I got you and Christy off to school. And I dressed Sarah and AJ. And we got in the car and we drove to Downey, I think, to the card place. Do you care if I say this?
No, I've said it publicly in a talk.
And we walked in the door, and it was just like a big casino, all card tables and stuff. And but I couldn't find him. And then I looked in the very back corner, and sitting on a stool was this man, just kind of hunched over at the bar. It was dark. And so anyway, I recognized Dad, and me and the kids walked over to him, and I just said, "Come on, let's go home." And I took him, and we went out to the car, and I just made him promise that this was it. He wouldn't come back. And he promised. And so we left the car there because had been drinking, and so we drove home, and I called my dad right away, told him to please come over and give Bill a blessing. And that was the beginning, really. My dad gave your dad a blessing that told him that one of the things he said was Satan would have no power over him. Well, he listened to the missionaries, and Dad told me later he really had never even intended to do all that stuff, but he did. And the Lord knows what's going to happen, because our home teacher was the stake missionary, Dan Fuller and Jerry Smith. And they were so faithful about coming over. I think it was twice a week at night, and just talking with Dad for hours. And anyway, tell you the truth, I was a mess. I was on pins and needles because I was so afraid when they asked him if he would get baptized, he would say no. And I remember, at the top of the stairs, that little cupboard there at your house. I sat there all the time. They didn't even know I was there. I was just so nervous.
How much time had passed from that day in the Commerce Casino to that moment? Is that about a year, or was it not that much?
No,
6
it was
months?
a week.
Huh?
It wasn't any time at all.
So it was a short period of time. Okay.
Oh yeah, one.
Yeah, it was probably.
Once you started reading the Book of Mormon, it went fast.
I didn't start reading the Book of Mormon until I just decided to
Yeah.
I decided to follow the counsel that I was given in the blessing. Proving, I suppose, that the allegory that Alma gives about just, exercising a particle of faith. Starts to bring the blessings on. And so I decided, it was right away that I decided I didn't want to be taught by the young elders. I just probably, that was an ego thing. I just didn't think that they would be sophisticated enough to teach me the way I needed to be taught. And I think that's probably the case, and not because of them, but I think that Dan Fuller was so, he and I hit it off right from the very beginning. And, we got into things in a lot of depth. And, so, I wanted, I had been impressed. I think I listened to him speak a couple of times. I was impressed by him. And so I called him up and asked him, told him that I decided to take the lessons. And I asked him to, and also he was our home teacher.
Yeah.
And I liked him. And so I asked him to give me lessons. And we started, it was, I think it was within a week. It was right around my birthday. And so, but we didn't let any time pass. I called Dan right away and told him that I decided to take the lessons. And he started right away.
So what is it that sort of at least I know where I get it from now. Both of you.
We've all been crying.
I'll get there.
I know.
So was it that that event in that casino where Mom say basically was like, come home? Was that really like the turning point for you that sort of opened your heart to all this stuff?
Well, you should read the talk that I wrote, that I gave in, the last talk I gave a few years ago. But yeah, I don't think that brought the fighter out in me. Because I knew I was going to lose my family. So it didn't, I realized that the road I was on was going to lead me to lose what I valued most, which was my family. I was willing to make any changes to anything not to let that happen. So the blessing that Grandpa Wilkes gave me Wilcox gave me was, clearly inspired because, he probably knew I would had no intention of taking the lessons.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did, but I didn't believe in the devil or anything, but he just said that Satan had no power over me while I was taking lessons. And something in those words is what kind of, lit the spark. That's what sparked the faith. Something, because he repudiated Satan. And I felt different. I could feel a load lifted off of me when he did that.
Yeah.
And he told me that Satan would have no power over me as long as I was taking lessons. I had felt a lightning, and I felt like I had been freed by the blessing. So I decided to pursue it. So it was, I would say the turning point turned from just, a secular humanism sort of perspective on the world and wanting to, and that's the way I was raised. I mean, my dad came up through a terrible environment, but all he wanted ever to be was a good dad and have a family. And so I was raised, the family was everything, even though we weren't raised to be religious.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, that started turning into more, more of a faith-based thing. I started that initial, the blessing and the counsel is what ignited my faith, gave me the planted the seed of faith in me, and I was willing to follow the counsel.
Yeah.
Because the load that I was carrying had been relieved by the blessing.
Yeah. So, what was that given at their house?
What?
That blessing?
No, our house.
It was at our house.
Your house.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because I remember there was a I don't remember what was said, but I remember Dad getting a blessing at
What?
Grandpa and Grandpa's house.
Oh.
Well, I got a lot of blessings.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
was the first one. That one was given at our house on Yale Loop.
Okay. Huh.
Grandpa was always so good about when I would call him coming over, and he never said a word. He just
So
showed up.
contrast that day at the casino
Yeah.
with like how you felt when you saw him, on his baptism day. Like, what was that like for you?
Oh, I mean, it was, it's almost like you had to keep, checking myself.
Is this real?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I really didn't. Up until the minute he got baptized, I was afraid that he would
Change his mind?
change his mind.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because I knew he really believed the Book of Mormon was true, but, I just worried. But it was such a glorious day, and it was a great day, too. We had a lot of people show up and turn out for him. It was one of those dreams. And when I went to the casino to get him, I felt like that was the beginning of things changing for us.
Mm-hmm.
How much your patriarchal blessing promised you that I would see the light of the gospel and take the priesthood on myself and all that, and be a good father to our children. That was about a year prior to this event. So you got
Her getting it was?
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
a patriarchal blessing. Maybe 6 months to a year. When I was on a downward spiral, and I remember reading that and thinking, that proves the church is not true because
Yeah.
I'm never going to do that. And I wondered how much faith did that patriarchal blessing give you? Is did that give you strong enough faith to hang? Did your patriarchal blessing give you faith to hang on because you had that
Totally.
promise?
I totally believed it, although actually Sarah was a baby when I got that, so, and then you didn't join the church till after AJ was 2. So it was a while.
So it was a couple of years.
Yeah. But I remember, when you came home and you were so happy and you showed me it and I read that, and, I didn't say anything, but I would just thought to myself, that's never going to happen. Proves the church is not true. So that was it. She had to endure for 2 years, I guess. So how long? So Sarah. More than that.
Huh?
More than that.
Yeah, we should look at the day your patriarchal.
But I don't remember ever doubting it because I just knew it would happen.
I gotta go to the bathroom. So but you should, we should check the date, see how long you were given that promise and how long it took for her to have to endure just hell before it came true. Yeah. We should pull that document out and look at it.
If I knew where it was, I would.
That was, to me, that was pivotal too for both of us, really, because it became faith promoting for me.
Yeah, sure.
Because I was wrong.
Yeah.
It gave me that was, when I started to get faith, I'd think back on those words and all the adversity that she had to go through and we both had to go through.
Oh, that's true.
And then the promise came true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite a foundation to build on. So then fast forward a year or whatever.
Fast forward a year.
Yeah.
We went to
that was my next question.
Blessing. When my patriarchal blessing is real short, and one of the things that it says is that you lived with your heavenly Father before you came to this earth. You told your heavenly Father that you could come to this earth and live gospel principles.
Mm-hmm.
Your life has been preserved for this purpose. That's another thing that just hit me like a ton of bricks.
When you got that.
Yeah, your life has been preserved for this purpose. Because I can't tell you how many times in my life I've had brushes with death. Before then and after that, too.
Mm-hmm.
That my life has been preserved in miraculous ways. Construction jobs. Yeah. Major falls. I almost got ran over by a mobile crane one time on a tilt-up job, lifting up panels. And there were so many times when, I could have been easily killed on construction jobs and probably should have been killed. And then other places too, in heavy surf, whatever. But,
and he's still here.
Just the way I lived.
Yeah.
And it blows me away today that I'm still alive.
Yeah.
So, but when he said that, I thought, it just, that phrase hit me like a ton of bricks, and it still does, because, I look back on all the times that, I had
you were preserved.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So we had to have our family.
From the time I was 1 or years old, really.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have car seats back then when I just had learned to walk. My parents went to the grocery store and opened the car doors and were unloading groceries, and I walked off the edge of the seat and did a face plant right on the asphalt driveway.
Wow.
There's so many things. It's unbelievable how my life has been preserved over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no question in my mind right now that I'm still being preserved. And given strength way beyond my natural ability to take care of Mom.
Yeah.
So I still, go look back on that both our patriarchal blessings as having these pivotal, prophetic promises. That came to pass and are still coming to pass.
Yeah.
That's true. And if you want to go even a little further back, I really think that us listening to my doctor, the stake president, that had we not listened to him, and our pride would have, not me, but, I didn't care, but if we hadn't kept Christy, we would have never been a family.
Yeah.
Probably. Anyway.
So tell me what you remember or how you felt when we got sealed as a family.
That was an amazing day.
Did you think that day would ever come?
No, I did know once Dad got baptized that he would, he was thinking
but
about
maybe 10 years into your marriage, was that something that ever crossed your mind?
No.
Yeah.
No, not until he was told to take the family to the temple, or maybe that was in his patriarchal blessing, that I even imagined that. And it was a long day, but really good. But instead of doing it in, take Bill and I going to get our endowment, we did it all in one day.
Wow.
So you kids were in the nursery kind of
in the waiting room. Nursery, yeah.
Yeah. Gosh,
We were
AJ
trying
was
to
only...
keep AJ tame.
Oh my gosh, poor guy. The only picture I have of us is he's just screaming bloody murder.
There's only so much you can color.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't having a good time anyway. But it was such a happy day. And, when you feel like the heavens are open and accepting your family. And I remember someone was there that came to, join in with us. A lot of the people in the ward came, and they said that this is probably the most important event that happened that day.
That was Ron Norton.
And I believe that.
Yeah, Ron Norton said this is the most important thing that's...
Huh?
Ron Norton said...
Oh, yeah.
The temple is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said this is the most important event. In the world. Not here today.
And it was, except for that picture with all of us smiling and AJ crying. Makes me sad. He was kind of done in after all that.
That's a classic picture.
Huh?
That's a classic picture.
I know, but I remember too when you kids all walked in and we had on the white clothes and the green apron and y'all looked at us so funny, like, what is going on?
Yeah, I remember that feeling.
Do you?
What?
Yeah. What are you wearing?
You chefs?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it was a great day.
Okay. That was good.
Yeah. Emotional, but hey, maybe it's good therapy. I had to get all that out.
Is there any other thing that that maybe I didn't ask the question, or is there anything about this story or this part of what we talked about that you didn't talk about that you need to or want to?
I think I'm gonna cry. But the one thing that keeps coming to my mind a lot was how good my family was. My sisters. I mean, they didn't know. Margene was so sweet. I remember she wanted to feel Christy move, and it was like the first time I could share that with anyone. And Kathy was, they were all so young, but she was so, everybody just was so sweet and accepting. They didn't, like shun me or anything.
Yeah.
That meant a lot to me. So that's mainly one of them. That's the most important one. And my mom and dad too. And even, we got along with Bill's mom and dad after that. It was just like I stayed at their house when I was getting ready to have you and laying in that bed. Mary Jo kept coming in like, well, I think we need to go to the hospital. But, yeah, I think more than that, just the acceptance and the love.
Yeah.
That was really great. So, anyway.
Cool. Well, I will